All rise in the case of the German left versus the occupying American force, the DSA Berlin.
Hey, welcome to your weekly corner Späti. We have, I guess what's now the full gang because Kieran's being a father. So it's myself, Rob.
Hi.
Yulia.
Hello.
That's too quiet, whatever. But
Hello.
better. And we have two special guests from Berlin DSA. Michelle, is it Hayner or Hayner? Do I want to do the German pronunciation?
It's up for interpretation.
Okay,
because you know, one.
Yeah, we're in Germany, so it's Hayner now.
Hayner.
Yeah,
Michelle Hayner.
And Ted Knudsen. Did I pronounce that right?
Pretty good, yeah.
Okay.
Knudsen.
It just makes me think of Knut, the
Knut,
polar bear.
Oh, he's dead.
Yeah, no, he's dead.
I'm sorry.
But yeah, so for those who don't know, DSA has now gone international. There is, if I'm not mistaken,
The virus has broken quarantine.
there's a chapter here in Berlin, and there's also a chapter in the UK, if I'm not mistaken, that kind of started around the same time, right? Like, I'm
and
not
a couple other sort of embryos of chapters in Australia, France, a couple people in Italy, the Netherlands, but the UK and Germany are the two most established groups that we have.
Damn right. And so, yeah, we have y'all here to just kind of break down about why you're ruining the German left and where to, what we can do to ruin the German left altogether as Amis, as we're called. Except for Yulia. You're honorary American now, I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
My new favorite Twitter account is something called the English Allman, which is a fascinating concept, and I like to think of Yulia as I don't
English
know.
Almond?
No, you're like a German cracker or something. I don't know. We're workshopping it.
It's good. I mean, we're really the inheritors of a proud tradition of Americans ruining the German left.
Damn right,
We want
yeah.
to keep that
Yeah,
up.
true.
You know?
So I guess because we are a European-based podcast, and I'm assuming that not everyone who listens to our show knows what DSA is. Could you maybe break that down in your, simplest way of how, maybe not how the DSA came about, because it's been around for like 30 years or 40 years or something like that, but kind of like the recent surge of popularity, and I think it's like 2016, right? DSA's gotten like a massive bump. And yeah, so what makes what is DSA, and what specifically is DSA Berlin? How do they fit into this? I don't say quagmire, but that's a bad thing. Into this, network. We're digital now, aren't we? Yeah.
All online.
Right. So I think the post-2016 bump in membership can be attributed to Bernie Sanders and people not knowing where to go with the energy of that campaign. And I think the DSA before that was relatively small. I have to say I'm not like an expert on their history, but...
No, but it was in like the 4 digits before.
Yeah.
And now their goal is 6. They're making a goal of DSA 100K. So it's really gone up exponentially in the last
DSA
4 or 5 years.
Well, it used to be
It's
just
a
a thing
hashtag.
of just
Yeah,
like old people who would like join a socialist organization in the U.S., right? Like it has
Yeah, there's a lot of so I am a longtime DSA member living in Germany, so I haven't really done anything. But when you would go to DSA meetings in the US, there's like a handful of people in their 20s and then a couple old guys, and they'll like tell stories. They're like, yeah, it was 1969. It was me, Kenny, and Jerry Rubin, all right? We were down by the courthouse on, South, on 8th South Street or whatever.
So
And yeah, that's the group.
But now it's got us. So.
yeah, exactly. Now we're all young and youthful and more radical, probably. I hope, but yeah. So I guess because the thing that then prompted us wanting to do an episode about this was something that then if our listeners heard us on the bonus episode talking about how this became such a shitstorm, as the Germans love saying, or wait, what is it?
Shitstorm.
Is it
Yeah.
shitstorm?
Yeah,
Yeah.
shitstorm.
Germans love the word shitstorm.
Yeah.
And I think it was a picnic in like Tempelhofer Feld, something like completely harmless, and just Germans flipping their shit. yeah, exactly, Americans coming in telling the Germans how to like be
Basically
left
saying
wing.
that DSA is American imperialism.
Well, I mean, what better place to have American imperialism than Tempelhofer Feld?
I know, right? Yeah.
Oh,
It's
shit.
really, like I said, continuing a proud tradition.
Rosinenbomber 2.0. Like you don't know what that is.
I had to register in my head what the Rosinenbomber was, but yeah.
I mean, if we can just like back up a little bit, I know you guys did an episode with Claire, one of our organizers from our group. Was DSA in Berlin is kind of forming from the remnants of Germany for Bernie. The people
building on the foundation of. Yeah.
Sorry, but during Germany for Bernie, we kind of like found a lot of not just Americans, but people living in Berlin who like wanted a way to get involved in U.S. politics. Who were feeling super disconnected and alienated from not being able to vote in Berlin, being able to vote in the U.S., but not being able to like kind of participate in the campaign. And, you know, the Bernie campaign has this like once in a generation chance to maybe get some modest social democracy. And just kind of realizing that there are so many people out there who are searching for some base, some way to get involved, and we should keep them in like an organization. We should keep them organized. I think a lot of people literally found the Germany for Bernie group by Googling like Bernie, Berlin, Bernie, Germany, Bernie Sanders, like just desperate for some way to help and get involved. So
the Germany for I guess it started with Berlin for Bernie first, and then went to Germany for Bernie. It was a like big group. It was one of the biggest of the like international like campaigns of the Democratic candidates, wasn't it? I remember going to the meetings. It was always packed and a good time, and you know, Rob doing his phone calls to people telling them to vote for Bernie.
You actually called people?
Yeah. Rob
Wow.
looked like a guy with his like head, you know, he had his headset on and was like walking back and forth, like doing like closing deals. It was sick. But yeah, no, it was really, I think from that alone, at least from my perspective, I could totally then, it filled a void for me politically of one, Bernie was exciting, obviously, regardless of like how much of his politic, I necessarily like entirely agreed with. It was still like, as I think but you said it perfectly, of a basic social democracy that the United States does not have, and seeing that then amongst people who live here, who do have, I would say, maybe access to that basic social democracy, seeing that what other people then could also have. But after Bernie dropped out, not even just that, after Super Tuesday and being at the event, and just like the what we thought was going to be, you know, Bernie big ballin', just kind of crashed in front. Crushed in front of all of our eyes. And I really, like, for me personally, I just lost a lot of hope for the U.S. and felt like politically lost in the U.S. I mean, still even now with the elections, but kind of not knowing, obviously, at least for me, like what to do with my time, because I, you know, invested the bit of time, you know, with you know, texting, calling, and all that. So I guess then the question that I have then too, kind of following with that, is like why DSA? You know, because there's other organizations too that then are also on the table that then were involved. I believe like Our Revolution is the Bernie one.
Exactly.
And
which one?
Our Revolution.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So what made it then the turn towards then this organization instead of just piggybacking on the Sanders movement?
Yeah, go ahead, Tom.
Yeah, I mean, we actually did this in like a democratic way with our group. Is we sent out a poll to everybody and had them vote on what type of group they wanted to be, whether they wanted to stay as a just sort of an independent group of progressives or leftists in Berlin, or Our Revolution, or DSA. Came down to the three choices, and pretty overwhelmingly, people chose DSA. I think because it closely aligns with a lot of our values. There's a tradition of DSA kind of growing out of the Sanders campaign, the way Michelle was talking about it did after he lost in 2016 is when they saw this huge membership spike. So that was already kind of an established pathway. And also just having a very recognizable brand, like people know what the DSA is. They you know, the name kind of says it, but It's something that
Democratic Socialists of America. I don't know.
I think we actually didn't say it.
Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah. I
Berlin.
think it's good that
That's good, yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, like that is like a perfect tie-in too. Because I remember in 2016, after Bernie, labeled himself as a Democratic Socialist, and then I remember myself just Googling like what organizations exist in the U.S. and obviously the first one that comes up is DSA. So I can that is there is weirdly enough name recognition from the Bernie campaign that then isn't just like streaming down from the fact of like, oh, we're just going to continue doing the Bernie thing forever, even though he probably will never run again,
Yeah, absolutely. And like I said, we were all attracted to Bernie because of his policies and because of his ideals and ideas.
Wasn't because he's hot?
I was about to say because he's cute.
That too. But and so we didn't want to do our revolution and just be kind of like an outgrowth of the campaign directly and just be feeling like kind of hangers on to like one particular politician, but actually a broader organization that seemed like they had a more forward-looking vision about how to accomplish some of these goals. And to your question about, why should we have a DSA Berlin? What's the point of that? So there's like a few sort of broad goals we have that are kind of on our agenda. I wrote down 3 here. And one of that is just a starting point for U.S. citizens in Berlin to get involved. As kind of one, there's the Democrats abroad here, but they're very tied to the kind of party establishment. They're much more centrist. And so we wanted kind of an alternative to Democrats abroad. Alternative für Demokraten.
The true AFD.
The true AFD is in town now. And also education, like the American educational system and how it treats anything leftist or socialist is so abysmal. And you just don't really get much perspective on that, especially for international issues. So to provide a platform to actually educate people more about what's going on. And also connections with other groups. If you guys were at the picnic, you saw we had people from Progressive International, Labor for Berlin, the Linke Internationals, and so all different groups talking. And so we want to be like a jumping off point for Americans who want to get involved in local politics, who might not feel comfortable just showing up to, say, like a Die Linke meeting. But they can come to us, we can introduce them to people, and then they can get involved in local left politics.
I'm terrified of Die Linke.
We can hold their hand. We can bring them
please.
physically to the...
Yeah.
If you're like interested in left politics, but socially you only feel like you can talk to like programmers who live in Neukölln, like DSA Berlin's for you, or it's the bridge,
Not wrong. And as a second point, a way to get involved in U.S. electoral politics, both for expats and for non-U.S. citizens in Berlin. Like we had a very international mix of people during the Germany for Bernie period, and we want to keep it that way and not be just like an expat club or something. And so both for Americans to stay connected in their home politics and also everyone else who bears the brunt of a lot of American foreign policy, and they actually want to advocate for some political change in the U.S. This gives them an opportunity to do that. And the last one, and I touched on this a bit, would be to partner with local left groups and movements, like I said, Linke, Progressive International, local anti-racist groups, and not just as like a jumping off point for other Americans, but really doing events together, partnering with them, going to demos, so on, and having a large group of people that can contribute resources and people to local movements.
Yeah, I should say I'm joking, but like, because that's like a stereotype or something, but like nothing really reminds you of like that, I don't know, the impression that you get from, I don't know, just looking online or like something you hear about is like not connected to reality, in that most of the people, at least, who are, I don't know, maybe critical of something like why would DSA exist in Berlin, would say something like they're just there for a year, I don't know, to like have fun and then move or go to techno clubs and then move back, which is like, I mean, if you have that opinion, then I would agree, like, okay, DSA Berlin doesn't make sense, but like, that's not the case. Like, I mean, it's just like you have to adapt. Like, there's such like a international community, not just Americans in Berlin. Yeah. And I don't know, politics, like national politics, don't really have a lot of openings for the kind of cities that like we actually live in now,
Yeah, even like I can vote in Germany on like local elections and stuff like that, and I'm not in any way like I don't in any way feel welcomed into like any left-wing group that then previously, like a German left-wing group that previously existed. So like one of the examples that then I was really drawn to during like the European elections for that reason was like DM. Like we've talked about them multiple times because
like
they did offer
pan-European
yeah,
movement,
exactly.
something like that, something that actually doesn't only focus on the national level of politics.
And you don't feel like a piece of shit.
Tries to unite the left all over the place, you know.
Yeah, it doesn't make you feel like a piece of shit that you go there and you don't know all like the weird idiosyncrasies of how the German left just is a shit show.
Yeah, and I mean that is a smart move as well, because you had so many people organizing for the first time during the Bernie campaign. And
it was fun.
And then you get disappointed, kind of, you know.
I mean, it's like truly bizarre that the first time I got involved in U.S. politics was right after I moved to Berlin and started. And I think encouraging other people to like take that leap, it's so much easier with these established structures and like an actual left that exists in Germany. And,
go ahead.
And we should take like, it's fine if people are here for a year, then they should learn something and go back and figure shit out. Like,
it makes sense, definitely.
Yeah, exactly. I was just going to say, most of the most active people in the group are in Germany really for the long haul. Like it's not just a come and go kind of party thing. But, if someone is here for a year to go to techno clubs, isn't it better that they're active in left politics when they're not at the techno club for that year,
exactly.
than just being a total degenerate?
This gets at something that reminds me of like, I don't know, one of the critiques or maybe a left critiques of DSA. It's like, why are you democratic socialists? Like that's like you should be, I don't know, a communist.
I had a French anarchist guy approach me very hostily. After the picnic, he's like, why you say democratic socialist? Why don't you be proud socialist? It's like, oh man,
it's the U.S.
Come on, it's the U.S. You have to put something, safe in.
I mean, it ties into the Bernie campaign too, because maybe the similar critique of, I don't know, electoralism or the Bernie campaign or whatever. And I think this is a tendency that we talk about on the show a lot, which is to look at politics as like politics doesn't exist in a vacuum, but people treat it as if like, I will have like 50% democracy, 50% socialism. And that's like, there's no, what even is democratic socialism, right? I mean, it's just like a kind of idea generally that people are, there's no like specific program or anything. I think the value of the Bernie campaign and the value of DSA has been more than, I don't know, the like the ideology in abstract or in isolation. That's not the value of it. It's the challenge to the system and the forward movement it provides. I mean, certainly that's why I joined DSA, because I'm like, oh, this seems like where it's happening, like something is actually changing here.
Yeah, I think the U.S. too, though, allows like your brain to just get fried on the sense of this, because Europe is a little bit better when it comes to like broader left-wing movements. Maybe they're not all the best, but the attempt of like a coalition of left-wing parties is very much a vibrant thing that exists in like most European countries. Like, Germany.
The problem with SPD and Die Linke im Westen. In the West,
but I mean, like, I'm thinking more in like the sense of like Podemos in Portugal, or like the absolute failure that Syriza was in Greece. Still ideologically, they weren't. I mean, they were socialist, obviously, but it was just kind of like, you're a green anarchist. That's your thing. Cool, come on board. You're a communist. Cool, whatever. You just like left-wing politics and don't know where you belong, like, that's cool. You don't have to, like, Die Linke does that. There's different caucuses within the party.
You have different factions, In Die Linke, you have the Reformistische Linke, the reforming...
We don't like them.
You have the communist ones as well. You have the old ones there. They have some, like... I mean...
Where they're right? Yeah, no, I'm just kidding.
You have, and then you have the emancipating left, so like the Emanzipatorische Linke. A lot of them are actually, they're like the reformist, but they are the ones in Bundestag most of them.
And in the sense of, this is just simply my perspective, but they're just looking at it then from how the U.S. works with, you have two major parties, both of whom don't do these things very well either, but... They're still both Big Ten, but they're for a complete different form of Big Ten politics. So I think, DSA has, like, I don't know, DSA makes it accessible for people who are American or like, I want to be left-wing, I just don't know. Like I got in, like you guys mentioned, like with the Bernie campaign, stuff like that, like I was the exact same way. I didn't know anything about left-wing politics until the Bernie election. And then, not really. Don't look at me like that.
What?
Yeah, no, I mean, with that, like it was a massive learning process for me of like,
Actually doing stuff.
yeah.
You knew about left wing.
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay, but like, I mean, because like the U.S. has your like, yeah, when it comes to anything that's left wing in the U.S., everything's evil, bad, and this and that and that. And then when you find that there's, you know, an organization or a group or a person, in the case of Bernie, that then's advocating for stuff that then's that, you don't need to necessarily know all the intricacies of like, oh, there's anarchism, or there's Maoism, or there's this, or there's that. It's just all under that, like, hey, like we're the left, like it's cool, hang out with us.
If Podemos were Portuguese, they'd be Podemos. So
just
Oh no,
a little something for the listeners. Moving on.
Podemos is Spain, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Shit.
I want to ask about. So, as far as I understand, the structure of Berlin DSA is a little unique. Can you talk a little bit about that? How you decided to take this path forward, and I don't know what are the political reasons for that?
Yeah, absolutely. So, you know, as an international chapter, we don't have the same exact like relationship and structure with DSA nationals as like, I don't say the New York chapter, the Boston chapter, so on. And meaning that we're not bound to some of the same things, and we're not technically an official chapter, but the DSA national knows
You
we're
haven't been
here.
patched in yet. is what
Yeah,
you're saying.
yeah. It's basically just a bunch of very boring GDPR reasons why we can't become official, so I won't dwell on that. But so, you know, we're offered a bit more flexibility in how we structure ourselves and both how we relate to nationals and how we conduct our own business. And so after that picnic, we had discussed elections and doing that, and then realized that this turned into quite a contentious topic with how it was going to work and all of this, and it felt very unnatural for our group, which evolved very organically through the Bernie campaign, and there was no titles, no hierarchy. It was just the people who wanted to get involved got involved. And we realized the sort of the best wasn't coming out of people by doing this elections thing, and just decided to scrap that. Basically keep a similar structure to what we had been doing, which is have working groups, have people just take the initiative, you know, say if they want to help with IT or social media or planning events or doing electoral work, just make a group of people, figure stuff out, and then do that, and then, you know, run it by other people, obviously, if you're going to do an event in our name. But just having it be organic, having it be flat and non-hierarchical, and really having our group based on who shows up and does things, not on titles. So I think both coming from the past group, that was important, and I also think as a way forward, it'll make it a lot more sort of friendly and approachable, and not feeling like there's these set things.
Germany, listen up.
The tea has brewed for an appropriate amount of time. It's ready to pour and or spill it.
I mean, we can spill the tea. I mean, that is. I do like causing problems within the left.
I wanted that background because everything, like, again, to me, seems great. Guys are approaching it open-minded, humble. Like, we're just going to try to get involved. You know, have an access point for these people who aren't really involved in politics. Like, how do we go forward?
And then the Germans
the image. The thing is, it's not just the Germans. I don't know. We've talked about it.
Yeah.
But how do you answer to the charges laid out at the beginning of this episode that you are destroying the German left and our American, you know,
You're
So
Americanizing the left.
Maybe they need it.
Yeah. So I think Michelle has a couple funny tweets to look out, but I'll
yes,
just
please.
answer that.
She has the fucking receipts. Like,
Yeah.
I want to see it.
I'll just answer that real quickly. Is like, we definitely see ourselves as a complement to these existing groups, not a competitor at all. I think over half our members are also a member of a different local Berlin left group. So this idea that we're somehow taking away from that is very silly. If anything, like I said, I think this is a pathway to get people to join those other groups via
Yeah, we want to
us.
like funnel them
Yeah.
directly
I'm just
into existing organizations. It's not.
I'm legitimately flabbergasted that Germans think that you can just only be like,
In
you can only
one-
care about one thing.
Yeah, they
One
love their
left group.
Vereine.
Yeah.
I don't
Love
get it.
that shit.
No,
it's
all right.
Vereinstreue.
All right, just to make it clear. The reason is because LOL DSA is a meme that might get you upwards of 12 likes on Twitter, which is why people say it.
So if I say LOL DSA and then like write
It's-
like
Seriously?
That's perceptive.
Sounds like
What if I say AOL?
Sounds like an episode title.
DSA.
LOL DSA, yeah, I'm gonna keep it. LOL DSA Berlin.
Yeah. So I mean, to talk about what ignited this, like,
Let's get messy.
there was just one picture that one of our friends, like one of the attendees, posted, being like, so excited to start organizing, like glitter emoji, red flag
Who's
emoji.
not even German or American.
Nope,
That's the
but-
funniest thing about it.
So the person that treated it.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and the replies got a little heated. I mean, so just endless, like amigo home, like Yankees, raus, like a couple
Rob
positives.
can agree to that as a Red Sox fan.
I wish they would be so passionate about Republicans abroad. They invite them to their fucking talk shows. All
Yo,
the fucking
holy shit,
time.
they do. I forgot about that.
And then they spit race theory on fucking German public TV.
True.
Seriously.
They did
just
a whole-
recently.
That
Just
happened.
recently.
Maischberger did a whole thing too, like last
Yeah.
week about fucking. Wait, wasn't John Bolton on German TV?
Yeah, of
King
course,
shit.
yeah.
Oh god.
So that's lovely.
That's the
Republicans
proper
are allowed
American-German
to be-
relationship.
Yeah.
Or I'd like to see those Amigo Home replies on like Rammstein Air Base's
Yeah.
Twitter.
Yeah,
Like,
cool.
I think that'd be a better place
Yeah,
for
yeah,
it.
yeah.
Oh, they mention Rammstein a lot, don't they? Like in the comments or something? Didn't they? Or maybe I saw another tweet.
I think that you're just like lathing this into your own reality, and that's cool.
No,
Like,
I know what the Amigo Home shit is about, and Rammstein is always mentioned. At some point, maybe someone would talk about Dresden. That's a real Nazi group then.
There's only like 3 or 4 drone operators in DSA Berlin, so we're not that bad.
Yeah, that's fine. All right, so
Yeah,
spit the
so
tweets.
one of the replies was like, somehow there is an even more elite and rich membership than NYC, raising hands emoji, like, let's go. And someone responded, LOL, I'm in Berlin because I can't afford the US. And I think that just kind of
Yeah.
spoke
I don't-
to...
Like I was saying.
I don't know how many people from back home, because like I'm from Phoenix, so even like talking with my friends, they're like, yeah, I have a studio apartment that's like $1,800 a month, and I'm like, dude, you live in Phoenix. Come on, like, why? Why are you doing this to yourself? Oh, well, you know, it's not that bad. It's located in a horrible part of town. It's not that bad. I pay $400 a month for my like VG. I mean, given it's not the most optimal scenario, but still, like Berlin is significantly cheaper. You know, you could get a plane ticket and then some with that $1,800. Just saying. Sam, this is I'm literally addressing you.
I would think it is. That's Sam. Okay.
That is Sam.
Yeah.
And then somebody who has the handle Hegel's Kegels said
Oh.
that...
Oh, that person is German.
Or just a fucking pervert.
No, not
Just
German.
a fucking weirdo.
Not because Hegel.
No.
Maybe I didn't get it.
No.
Oh shit. Okay, I'm
We'll explain what kegels are later to you.
Whoever this person is said that socialist orgs should not have abroad branches. They should be in an international. If you immigrate to another country for a little post-college adventure, you should join that country's left orgs, not start a DSA club. This is a direct quote from Lenin.
My life is an adventure. Thank you for recognizing that.
My life's the second international, so.
That got me thinking. No, I mean, yeah, but the thing.
wait,
yeah,
that proves that
but-
quote exactly right then.
Yeah.
What the fuck? That person's dumb. Who is this Hegel's Kegel?
Yeah, they're now private, so I had this like screenshot it because it's just
Yeah.
Okay. Too much
For the
backlash
record.
from that
Yeah, it
tweet.
doesn't demonstrate a great understanding of how successful leftist movements have
Yeah,
operated
exactly.
throughout history.
Yeah.
So I'm not.
And
I'm really confused.
quite
Like,
sure about that.
who are you supposed to join? Like the I don't know, the international.
It does
like,
like the like the
exactly.
Fifth International.
Yeah,
you become a
exactly.
Posadist.
Yeah.
Like,
Well,
Hey,
it's just
nothing against
it's just a
Poseidon.
classic example of internet leftism
Yeah.
putting the cart before the horse, right? It's like,
Yeah.
sounds great. Literally not an international, so we're just gonna go ahead with what we got.
Exactly.
One day
Yeah.
we could, we're trying to make that.
And if you would have like the international, you would still have like location, like you would still have.
yeah, of course.
Yeah. So I'm really confused.
Imagine being just like completely out of it, all right? Like you wake up in a coma, like you've been in a coma for 30 years, and you're just like, I'm going to join the Socialist International, finding out they're just like a massive neoliberal shit organization now.
You wake
yeah.
up and say you become a Trotsky. So
You don't know, I mean, that's just, you should probably check yourself into an institution at that point.
Oh, someone's hating on Trotsky.
I'm just kidding. I'm just being. We're being saucy here in this part of the show.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of accusations that we're just socializing and that it's nothing more. I mean, maybe it's because we called it a picnic. It was a picnic. I don't know what to say, but
it's called grillen.
Right.
Yeah, if it was a Tempelhofer.
Yeah, you got to be grilling with your boys and girls and everyone else.
They took away our grills because of the Corona Maßnahmen. There was no grilling allowed. So
Does Corona like
really
grills?
deprived us of a lot.
One of the funniest signs I saw at Tempelhofer Feld was "Don't talk loud."
oh,
Yeah, for Corona, like Corona Maßnahmen was "Don't
because
talk loud" because
the
Corona
virus loves loud voices and parties.
it just
and
hates
shit like
Southern
that.
Europeans.
Yeah, I mean that's the Meghan McArdle thesis that allowed.
We get more Corona if you get more Italians just in one place.
I think that's a good example though of places just using Corona as a way to enforce like what they really love doing. Like I'm sure
not
Germans
yeah.
love that, but like no, you have to like luften extra now. Yeah, you have to talk extra quiet
excuse
all the
me.
time, and they're just
Luften has been
they're
proven
just like,
correct.
yes, this
Like,
pandemic
you're
is
right
great.
all along.
Stoßlüften is very important.
Here we go.
Yeah, all right. What are you gonna tell me that then my kidneys are cold next or what? Come on.
Yeah.
That's not a thing.
Yeah, it
No.
This crisis is going to demand everything from us. We need to put down the Trenner at the at the casa. We need to wait and only cross when it's green. only
Like
in
a
this
water
way.
pipe like goes like through the middle of your kitchen. That's like bad. You have to move.
We're gonna remove the kitchen out of our house when we move houses as well because that's normal.
It's not.
Literally no. Put on your fucking
Yeah.
house shoes. We're getting.
Are there more?
Oh yeah, there's a couple more. Yeah, just so these are people quote tweeting the just very wholesome picture of a picnic saying, I mean, why the hell not? At this point, it basically is just a socializing club to a large extent. Might as well get expats, their local hangers-on, and generally foreigners zonked out on U.S. politics and culture involved and hang out. And somebody responded, what if we kissed at a Berlin DSA chapter meeting?
Yo, that'd be sick.
Well, they're all online, so you can't kiss. Like, sorry.
Corona. Think about that.
I do get zonked out on U.S. politics every time I go to Berghain. It really elevates the experience.
It is very fast. Sorry. Yeah.
You thought Rob was going to make a serious point.
It is very fascinating, though, that Germans are very like obsessed with America. Like we talked about that before. We talked about the Route 66 stuff.
Yeah, they fucking love that shit.
I know they love the Confederate flag as well because they think it's a Southern thing. So if
It is a Southern thing,
Yeah,
but
I
for
know,
all the
I know
wrong
it is.
reasons.
I know, but Germans think it's just about the Southern rock, you know, just listening to cool music like Kid Rock with your bros.
Kid Rock is from Michigan.
I don't care.
I love the
Dog-
T-shirts that are like Route 66, live free or die hard, drive through cheeseburger, free rider, and you're like, that's just so much
the
mixed
brand is-
Americana all together.
The brand is called Camp David.
Yeah,
It's like,
exactly.
no.
Yeah, that then,
Great.
what's his name from Dieter Bohlen?
Oh yeah, he loves Camp
Is
David.
is it like? How does it work? A sponsorship, endorsement, or whatever.
Yeah.
Whenever he's on TV, he has to wear Camp David stuff.
Rightfully
And
so.
it literally is the most perfect distillation of Germany. That you're like,
Yeah.
what band was he in?
Modern Talking.
Yeah. Okay. So you're one famous person from 40 years ago.
Yeah.
Well, that was part of the Camp David agreements. That, we had to wear the shirts.
You have to get Dieter Bohlen to fucking wear these awful T-shirts.
But what I wanted to say is actually, how fucking obsessed Germans are with American politics because they can point at America and always say, like, we're doing it better, you know? And we talked about that before when we were talking about something.
America.
And
Germans and how there's this
Germans,
weird,
exactly.
you know, there's the meme of the hands.
So, like, when it comes to these critiques, it's interesting because at the same time, I think, like, it's this this being convinced that the German left does it better in any way because it's America. You can't do it. Well, I'm sorry. You know, that's the idea that's behind it.
There is really like a thing of
Saying like Frankfurter Schule was cool when it was in Germany and not when it was in New York.
it was never cool though, so let's just be real here. There is a thing, and I think that then this is also a problem within the U.S. left too. My fellow Americans can maybe also chime in on this, is that there is just a complete disconnect of like how big the left in the U.S. is not really anymore, but it's good seeing like a revival of it. So you'll see Germans like fetishize like the Black Panthers, fetishize then a lot of really, like the workers movement that then like, hate on the German workers movement. But
we have our own, okay?
I know that, but one of the most volatile and successful workers' movements came out of the United States. This isn't saying the Germans weren't good. Obviously, they were in their own different sense. But the U.S. has such a vibrant history of leftism. One, why can't we do it? Why can't we do it then when we're like, disconnected from, wherever we're from? And not then... like exactly in that really bad quote tweet of that, then why isn't international? Because it is. Like, and I think that then all of us that then who are within these organizations, I mean, I'm not, but maybe I'll join. Who knows? But yeah, I mean, like the sense of that then when you look at left politics, like the people that I know that are most educated about international issues typically are amongst like left communities, who aren't complete psychopaths, who aren't like studying. Foreign policy to no
offense.
No, but
the sentence.
Yeah, like whenever you meet like I don't know, just like a German lib or whatever at university who's just like I want to study foreign policy and I'm doing this. It's like you're insane. Just stop. Like what are you doing with your life? Like I don't know. I feel that there's a real the sense that then Germans don't want to admit that the U.S. left is this thing that then's historically been incredibly relevant for such a long period of time, and that too, why can't we then try to then do that? Maybe not do it again, like we're not trying to do armed insurrection or whatever, but having a revival of the U.S. left is really invigorating for at least for me. I like seeing then like this stuff happen and seeing it happen then internationally is cool. It's really a good feeling for once, which is a lot to say right now. Like I've not felt good about politics in like the last 5 years. So
yeah, and I think your point about the role of Germany, the role of the U.S. in German politics is really important because across the whole political spectrum, it seems like the sort of specter and idea of the U.S. bails out different parties in a different way. If you're the CDU, you can say, well, we're at least is not as cruel and awful and militaristic as those Americans.
Yep, exactly.
And if you're Die Linke, you can say, well, at least we haven't failed as hard as the American left because conditions aren't so grim here. And so I think it actually, the idea of the U.S. plays a very convenient role in the narrative of all different ideologies here.
Yeah, I agree. All right, are we ready for
it? It wasn't all negative. I'm gonna throw in a positive.
I retweeted with the positive,
Sweet
maybe not a positive comment, but just a very confused reaction.
Like, why is everyone freaking out?
Yeah, I just didn't get it.
Right, and I mean, other people express the same sentiment, saying like, why does everyone have an issue with this? The more U.S.-based and otherwise socialists that build relationships, the better, and like. Someone said, absolute losers on here are mad that DSA isn't internationalist enough, and then they get mad when DSAers start organizing in Berlin. Like, sure, it's not the global South, but it's something, Yeah,
I mean, Germany, why you mad?
Wait, so I want to flip the question just to do a little self-reflection for the Americans here on this on the podcast. Okay. What do we see as the difficulties as an immigrant organizing in a basically mostly foreign country? I know some people are moved around, but because there's language barriers. I think we all speak some German, but it's still not like native language for me. And so there are some barriers to overcome, and what's the best way that we can do that?
Yeah, I mean, I think the language barrier is something to talk about, but I think Nick kind of touched on this earlier. Being an American immigrant expat living in Berlin, you're kind of between two worlds, and you feel this powerlessness because I'm a U.S. citizen overseas. I can vote in elections at home, and that's what the Democrats and the Dems abroad want me to do. They want my politics to start and end with voting blue and
vote blue no matter who.
That's bad.
And a disgusting
Come on,
sentiment.
man.
But then I can't engage in like anything direct or like any direct action because I'm not physically in the U.S. like between elections, and so that makes you feel so stranded in a way. And then on the flip side, you're here in Berlin, and I don't have a European passport. I can't even vote in the local elections, but then I can show up to things and I can show up to protests and organize in person. And I think DSA in Berlin merges these possibilities. You kind of have like the two halves and make a whole in our organization. So if you feel alienated by that, then come organize with us.
Yeah, Yulia's gonna have her 2 cents about how you can't do that.
What?
No, I'm just kidding. You're like, because you're the lone German here. So like, no, absolutely not. You have to stay where you are. Amis raus.
I'm wearing my Route 66 t-shirt right now.
Yeah. I mean, just to kind of
Sweet
answer.
home. Right?
What if I told you that Route 66 does not go through Alabama?
I don't give a fuck.
Damn right.
That's my idea of America.
That is, I will say, and maybe I mentioned this on the episode about that stupid Route 66 bullshit, is that whenever I tell an older German that I'm from Arizona, they flip their shit out. They get way too excited.
Route 66, right?
Literally,
Oh my God. Have
yeah.
you been there? Have you seen it? And did you buy a t-shirt?
And then show them a picture of what the highways in Phoenix actually look like.
They're pimp. They're awesome.
have a
Route
motorcycle?
66 is for Europeans. I hate to break it to you. It's a horrible road that is. I think it just.
seen parts of it.
You've been on it in
I know,
Flagstaff,
in
and you didn't
Flagstaff.
even notice it. And then
I
I told
did.
you, no, you didn't.
Did.
Maybe
Okay,
you
whatever.
did. Yeah, it's just like a 2-lane highway. Which I mean, compare that. All right,
when
well,
you're German, you get
compare
this
that to the
feeling when
I-10.
you-
All right, all right. We have Americans here. You have your interstate highways, big, massive, beautiful 8-lane highways. Yeah, Route 66 bullshit compared to that. I don't know what you have in Massachusetts, but it probably doesn't exist. So
We have little highways. The DSA will bring I-10 to Germany.
exactly.
Nice.
Oh, that'd be sick.
The way you can drive here?
No.
That's scary.
to like just to kind of try to answer my own question, it's like it doesn't go away.
Yeah, let's
Just-
hear it.
I ask
I mean, you're
questions
talking about
just so I
highways.
can answer them. No, I mean just to like acknowledge that point, like, oh, you're Americans, like you're not like you're like I don't know, like I mean it gets at a real issue, which is that there's a lot of this stratification in Berlin across class, education, nationality, and it's like you can acknowledge that and give up and say like, okay, or you can try to do something about it. And everything I've seen from Berlin DSA is that it is trying to create a movement forward to do something about it, you know? And so if you care about trying to do that, then I think it's a good thing to get involved in, or at least support in some way.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I said, we want to build bridges with these different groups. And if anyone's listening to this that is from a different group that we didn't mention or we haven't worked with before, like definitely contact us, and we'll let you know how to do that and get involved, because we're by no means settled. We have by no means our entire agenda determined. Like we want to get to know new people, want to get into new movements, and want to help out with these things we care about.
If I can just kind of make that into a concrete example, something I saw when I moved to Berlin was all the posters of Deutsche Wohnen und Co. enteignen.
Yeah, I was
Yeah,
about to
that's-
ask
yeah,
you
yeah.
about that, because he was Rob was talking about stratification. So I thought like,
Right, I thought this ties in. And the purple and the yellow, it's auffällig, and you like see it everywhere, and you're like, oh, this is fucking cool.
Everyone's
like,
a
look at them.
Lakers fan in Berlin.
Right? And it's like, look at them demanding a better world and like actually fighting these mega landlords who just ruin people's lives and try and just make people like have such an unstable situation. And so, and the housing crisis obviously affects everybody living here, even people who are unable to vote in Germany. And I feel like people listening to this podcast have probably heard of this campaign, but they're collecting signatures for a referendum, and something that we're actually going to work on for the DSA in Berlin. They're going to collect, the goal is high, 50,000 political signatures, which means that people who can't actually vote, and kind of like hey, here's a list of like, I think, is it 1 in 4 people living in Berlin actually can't vote in Berlin, which is a huge number. The Linke Internationals.
Voting in Berlin in which sense?
Vote in this referendum.
In this, yeah.
Okay, so if you're able to vote on a citywide thing in Berlin. No, it's really specific in European politics.
Right, it is, yeah.
With a referendum.
Yeah. So
because in local elections you can vote if you are registered and live here for a certain amount of time, right?
Yes and no.
Oh.
It's
but with the
incredibly
referendums,
confusing.
you couldn't vote on the Tempelhofer referendum.
No, I could not.
Exactly. So I
yes,
was able to.
Exactly. That's where it gets really complicated.
Yeah.
I can vote on. All right. So for all of my my fellow Europeans living in Germany, you can only vote on like your Bezirkswahlen.
Yeah.
And you cannot vote on pretty much anything else except for when European elections come up.
Yeah.
But I would classify under this group then, because I can't vote for Berlin-wide things. I can only vote for like my Keats, if you will.
Right, but you would agree to the idea of expropriating these
cool.
landlords.
Tell me more about this.
Sounds beautiful.
Don't tell me too much, because we actually have an episode lined up about this.
I'm not going to tell you too much, but I think it's a perfect example of how people who have worked with our group before can take their phone banking skills and just transfer that to Rob. But
seal the deal, kid.
to collecting signatures. And, if you maybe don't speak that great of German, you can also organize in English and, go to all the popular spots where all our
Tempelhofer Feld.
and organize renters. So I think that's kind of a perfect example of our niche.
Well, so just building off of that, I wanted to ask more like not only niche for people who live in Berlin, this is an issue that affects them, and then try to get them politically organized, but even what value could there be in something like DSA as an outsider perspective in the German left? Not to we're coming to save and fix all the problems of the German left, but a little bit of different perspective, dynamism. Are there examples that you guys want to share? Anything in particular that, I don't know, that you want to bring or you find that you don't have an outlet for or not enough support for in the German left?
What do you bring to the company?
What do you bring to the...
What's our greatest weaknesses?
Oh my God. But tell me real weaknesses. Don't say that you're too...
I'm too honest.
I'm a perfectionist.
We're just too democratic and too open.
Well, I'll say mine, which is, because we've talked about it on the podcast before, which is that...
You're just too ripped.
The DSA endorse...
I thought you meant like personal qualms or never mind. All right, keep going.
The DSA is a pretty staunch ally of Palestinian solidarity movements. It endorsed BDS at the 2017 convention, and there are several groups across Germany that are trying to do provide solidarity to Palestine, and that is not find a reception on much of the German left.
Yeah,
and so literally DSA is. I believe very strong on Palestinian solidarity, and so that already is something. I mean,
did you see the news today?
I want to try to help. Do
you see that CDU is trying to get every reference of Palestine taken out of normal country?
Because just that word is anti-Semitic.
The historical name of the region is anti-Semitic.
It's
the Romans, fucking, they were so anti-Semitic. Actually, maybe the Romans were anti-Semitic. I take that back.
Yeah, true.
You're absolutely.
Yeah, I don't even want to act like DSA has all the answers, but sometimes the outside perspective is very useful.
Teach the German left how to phone bank.
Yeah, actually.
You're not allowed to call.
I think that is the way we can kill the German left, is calling random Germans.
Yeah, exactly. we have a law about calling for advertisement, and I don't know, political advertisement would probably also be that thing. So you are not allowed to call and send letters if people didn't ask you for it.
I mean, the amount of blank stares I've gotten from Germans when I try and explain what a phone bank is. I mean, the word bank might be confusing them, but they literally cannot understand the concept of talking to random people about
Telefonat.
politics. It's
Texting them like, what the fuck? We don't even talk in general. Like.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but I think to Rob's point, I'm going to read another tweet, you guys.
Hell yeah.
But somebody
messy.
replied to this photo saying, maybe Almans should reflect why local leftists don't want to join their groups. Parentheses, boring, racist, wildly pro-Israel. Close parentheses. And why so many people hate them. See
Damn
above.
right. I like this person.
So we're referring to anti-Deutsche here.
It's not even just as like anti-Deutsch. I think it goes beyond that,
It's
doesn't it?
absolutely beyond that because it
Yeah,
is a lot of German groups that feel like they can't, like, oh, well, we just can't talk about that at all.
Can't touch it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
So no, yeah, you're right. There's specific issues we can take on, particularly like Palestine, like you mentioned, that are a bit taboo for German groups. But yeah, also the outside perspective is totally valuable. I mean, just from, like, in a way, as an American, when you're here, it's almost like you're sort of coming from the future to offer a warning of like, this is the hell world you could become in 10 to 15
I say this all
years.
the time, but I know it
Like-
always sounds like, I don't know, so patronizing, but like there's a materialist like argument for it. Like Bill Clinton, like they did welfare reform in the 90s and Gerhard Schröder did it in 2003. Like it's coming. Like it's the same, like I mean, this is completely
I
just,
try to tell people
Trust
that.
us.
I'm like, it's gonna get. Was like, no. The German
It's not
system,
the
we
same.
have like the social welfare system.
Yeah.
It's not gonna erode that much.
It has
No,
been eroding before
Flats
everyone's
will never
eyes.
become that expensive. We're not New York City. Why would we ever become like
It's-
that? And it's
it's-
like, why do you have this sense of exceptionalism? Like, it will happen here too.
R.I.P.
exactly
social
the
democracy.
Yeah.
Still in a different manner, of course.
Okay, yeah, a little, yeah.
I mean, no, I'm talking about like circumstances, the way, like, you know, the circumstances in
go
countries
on.
are different. I'm just saying that
Okay.
from a sociological perspective, can't say like, yeah, kind of like have.
Of course, yes.
I wouldn't say that it's all like passive dependency or something like that, but of course, if it's a neoliberalism as a global regime, of course it would at some point, you know,
Okay.
end up in Germany.
My
as well.
question
I'm
to
just
you
saying
then.
the development are not the same.
Of
Yeah.
course, absolutely. I 100% agree.
I
My
think they're
question to
exactly
you
the
is...
Do you think it's exactly the
No,
same?
my question to you is,
So
is
that
that...
would be like one size fits all, and we all know that is exactly what neoliberalism tried. And
Is
it
it one
doesn't
size
But
fits all the
neoliberalism
first...
has been quite flexible and can produce the same
Yeah.
Yeah.
hyper unequal outcomes in very different institutions.
Germany's doing that
I'm
right
just
now.
saying because it doesn't see itself as an ideology. Okay.
Yeah, okay. What happens when Germany, a massively export-driven economy, cannot fulfill that role anymore and can't do austerity anymore?
I don't know. We're already like giving up the Schwarze Null right now.
Yeah, no,
so-
not even just that, but I mean, like, Germany's going to have to do austerity on itself, which it's been
Well,
doing.
it has been.
It
Yeah,
has
We
been.
did
constitutionally.
that.
But it's-
yeah.
yeah, but
it's
I
internal
mean-
wage like.
Of course, I mean
yeah.
austerity in the sense on itself, the way that then like the UK is doing it, in the way that the United States, okay, the US hasn't been doing austerity per se, but just massive cutting of everything.
Yeah, public spending.
Yeah, just the U.S. is this massive
like,
cult
the-
of accepting that. Then I mean, like, it's so weird to me that then in the U.S. the debate comes down to like taxation, which is a weird thing to kind of view as like a thing to vote on. You know, Germany that's
Is
not an
different
issue.
when it
you
comes
know?
to taxes. Definitely, yeah.
5-10 years that may actually become one. You know, like. I mean, when you
Right
can't...
now
when,
we only have
It's
16%
like the lag
managed.
time
Yeah.
between pop music that is produced in the U.S., Despacito by
Exactly.
Justin Bieber, and then here you are like 3 years later, and they're still fucking playing it like on the U-Bahn
Yeah.
one, and they're enjoying it, and it's like...
I have
Well,
I have
we
a
the
series of
internet now.
examples
It's
on
not
this.
like that anymore.
The memes. All right, we can't get too much into it.
Yeah, austerity against the southern European states is Despacito. It's gonna eventually get boring and just not provide anything.
So you do it to yourself then.
I mean, like, again, it's not that Germany hasn't, but Germany's been doing it in a way that then has allowed them to
Wages.
still have, through. I mean, the healthcare healthcare sector has been one that then has been massively cut. That like Germans just will not admit it's been happening unless they're like in the healthcare sector. Hotsphere is like probably one of like the biggest examples of that.
Yeah.
Yeah. But we can talk about that here and be like, yeah, that's happening. But then most Germans will be like, oh no, what are you talking about? We're not neoliberal. Like we're a Sozial Marktwirtschaft.
But yeah, like Hartz-IV basically should be seen as a way to maintain the German export model. Is
Exactly.
that you make being unemployed worse, you increase, is the logic of it, to keep the incentives to work more, so therefore you're willing to take a lower deal, lower wages, making German exports more competitive on the world market. So it really, austerity works differently depending on if you're a surplus or a deficit country, but for Germany, it's to maintain this export model. It's a very weird system. Whereas like the UK, basically, they're a huge deficit country. They just did austerity as like an ideological self-inflicted wound for fun.
When you're hanging out with your bros, you do a little bit of austerity. You're at the club. Your bro brought some austerity with him. You go to the bathroom.
You try a little bit, you get hooked.
Austerity,
not even more. They swore it off like a year ago. They said no more austerity. Now they're coming right back for more.
But Corona came and they're like, I'm at home. I'm bored. Like, gotta do some austerity.
Have some austerity.
Yeah, but I mean that as serious.
No, we're talking about austerity.
No. But this question doesn't have to have an answer because it is in the future. I'm genuinely curious of an issue like that Germany pretends doesn't exist when it's going to end up directly in their face as austerity because you've been able to do it to everyone else and poor people, the two groups of people that Germans don't care about.
I mean, the whole wage thing and shit like that. I mean, all that Germany, or a lot of Germans think about is just like, oh, but we're still like export country number 2 or something.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah.
The trade surplus as a percentage of GDP is the highest, but it's I think the second smallest absolute amount behind China. Yeah.
Okay, exactly, China. They were first.
So what you're saying is that Germany needs to become like China then? I mean, actually, that'd be kind of sick, but whatever. Political, economic way, not in a Xi Jinping worship way.
As I said before, even that wage stuff and shit like that, or a cut in healthcare, or healthcare like changing, especially because the model is kind of like.
It's Obamacare if it worked.
No, I mean doesn't work in the long run.
Oh, you mean like
when
actually?
You look at the demographic tendencies. And
how do we end up here is my first question.
I don't know, but I'm going back to America with this saying they would still say, well, at least it's not like in the US.
This is true.
Like
looking at the US for anything is like to a very like to a perspective that then when people who when Germans look at the US as that there's not really a country you can do much worse than right now. Like, just to be very honest, like, I can at least get the sentiment of then when people are like, maybe not those horrible shit takes, but Germans love this idea that they're not all that bad.
Yeah.
And the U.S. allows you to then be bad, but then not be this global monstrosity that then is just like collapsing before everyone's eyes, like you can Germany can respond to Corona poorly, can just like avoid testing people, charge people 100 euros for a test, this and that, but at least there's not 200,000 dead because Trump is so fucking incompetent. And that's a really weird, I was going to say Maßstab, but that's not an English word. That's a very weird benchmark. Thank you. It's not a good one either. Like, I think that Germans really need to kind of come out of their shell and realize that, one, their country's shit, but not in the anti-Deutsch sense. Like, in a sense that maybe they can learn from, others who've been in the trenches of a horrible country. Because I think that then it's the same for everyone else in this room, is that like the reason of leaving the U.S. is always a sense of that it is really hard to live there, just straight up. It's like not a fun country to grow up in right now. Maybe 30, 40 years ago it was, but it like your options are very limited, and Germany's just kind of like, well, it's still shit here. Like it's just not that shit. And Germans like take that as way too much pride. At least I think. I don't know.
Yeah, you can like work a non-evil job and afford rent in the largest cities.
Yeah,
Okay, that's great. But like, why is that in question?
Yeah, I mean, the way I look at it is that like a key part of the socialist movement even aside from like all the political goals, is as like a philosophical one, like I don't know if historicizing like the political situation in each country, but like there's a way, especially under, and again I'm just talking theoretically, under neoliberalism, that like everything is just like, oh, that's just the way it is. Like, and if this country's good, it's because it's, I don't know, they just do something
Things
better.
never stay the same.
And then if this country is worse, then it's like, oh, I guess that's just because that's the way it is. And what the socialist movement says is that this is all, historically contingent. And like, because otherwise, if like, and we see this going on across Europe right now, if like your, I don't know, standard of living goes down and you're not, you have no way to understand that historically, it's just like a force of nature. And then, of course, you're just like
capitalism is just
you lash out that there's no way to deal with it because it's like, what do you...
Bad luck, God's will.
So then, of course, it like there's no political form to grapple with it. Yeah.
When you individualize everything, every suffering you experience has to be your own fault or something beyond your control. And so you see how much... We're trying to change it a bit in the U.S. now, but how much any kind of collective action has been ruled out just systematically for decades.
And I just think it's valuable, or at least I personally have learned, even if it's not that different to move from the U.S. to Germany, just even a little bit of difference helps like rewire your brain to be like, things could be different. Really, like really, you can see how it's like completely historically contingent.
Yeah, definitely.
And I think, we were talking about this earlier, but like anyone on the American sort of center left to left who hasn't actually lived abroad, I think, has this idea like, oh, everything's like paradise in Europe. Like there's trains and like healthcare and it's all great. And
Sweden
it's
like,
at least for me, like I sort of evolved through that state of thinking like America is the bad place, Europe is the good place. And it's like, no, everywhere's shit. It's just a little less shit here. And like that slightly less shit is something you can learn from and like try to implement some policies in America while also trying to make Germany better. Yeah.
Yulia and I actually had this discussion earlier today of that then Germany is the most is the favorite country of American libs. They love it. They love writing about Germany.
They came to terms with their past, and everything's fine now.
Exactly, like that. But I've realized, yeah.
Every day there's another chat group of like some.
Every day is an Einzelfall, you know.
Every day is an Einzelfall. It's beautiful.
But there's really like for American libs and for some Germans too, I do get the feeling of. Kind of piggybacking on the sense of that then like it's still shit here but it's not as bad as the US. Germany is just a vibe for them. Like it doesn't actually exist, obviously, because when you bring up like statistical evidence of that then what Germany is, they're like, well, what are you talking about? Like that's not Germany. Or like, you know, how right-wing the government is here, this and that and that.
Well, we call it soziale Marktwirtschaft.
Yeah, a word that means literally nothing because every economy is a soziale Marktwirtschaft, like that's somewhat capitalist.
Yeah, but you're just like riding the ICE with like Merkel, drinking a giant Mass, and then
every fucking day.
Hiking in the Alps and going skiing, and it's great. It's just like all you do here. It's awesome.
Yeah, and but I love like at first I hate reading these articles, and at the same time I'm like, you know what? They're just they have the perfect like small little perception of what then life in Europe is, and it's just kind of beautiful. It's literally that what's that Netflix show now, the like Emily in Paris or whatever.
Emily in Paris.
Every New Yorker writer wishes that they could be that. Maybe like they went to like Europe once on like on a little excursion. You know, they got you know, they maybe had like a moment where they like, you know, kissed a person of the same sex. You know, they had like
so European.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh my God, did they smoke afterwards?
They smoked a cigarette. You know, they had their moment. They realized that the entire continent's like that. Even though like when it comes to things like, you know, like neo-Nazism, where you had the largest trial last week since the Nuremberg trials in Greece, you know, all these big problems. They're like, no, like Europe's just it's a thing. It's out there. It's a vibe, literally. And it's beautiful. So America, you can have the vibe too. You know, maybe better though, I hope. I don't know.
What is the American vibe? What's the vibe you want when you go to America?
Route 66! Freedom! Southern Rock! Burgers!
You named 3 really cool things. So.
All right. We should ask a few rapid-fire questions here at the end. Okay, first, do you have to be an American to get involved?
No!
Absolutely not.
Oh!
Anything else we should elaborate? Just, I mean, you already mentioned that it's not technically, I mean, it's DSA in Berlin, DSA Berlin, whatever it is. You can do what? Yeah, you can get involved.
Even official chapters in the States, you do not have to be a citizen. It's kind of our whole fucking idea of including people.
How should people get involved if they want to?
They should. They can sign up. We can maybe give you guys a link to submit their information, and then they'll be added to our mailing list. We'll contact them. Or you can always email us at berlindsa@gmail.com or follow us on Twitter at berlindsa. Come to phone banking. I guess by the time this comes out, there will be 2 phone bankings left before the election.
Or text banking.
Or text banking if you don't want to talk on the phone.
Who are you phone banking for, you should say?
We are phone banking currently for Beth Dolio in Washington District number 10, who is endorsed by Bernie, Medicare for All, Green New Deal supporter, running against a pro-fossil fuel, awful Democrat. It's actually a 2-Democrat race because of the way this is.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, America's cool. America's wild. America's a vibe also, too, now, actually, now that I realize.
Some people might think you're phone banking for Joe Biden, so I wanted to clarify.
We are not phone banking for Joe Biden.
Shut up, man.
No, it's a valuable question because some people have kind of bugged us, like, why aren't you supporting Joe Biden? You know, why aren't you doing this? And like, I don't want to open that can of worms now.
But
yeah.
If you want to talk about that, you can attend our online event on October 30th at 7:30. We might also link that or something. We're having a panel discussion on whether leftists should
rally behind.
Is it Noam Chomsky and Virgil Texas just beating up each other?
Yes, we sent him an email
hell
late
yeah.
in the night and he responded.
Everybody wanted more, so we thought we'd set that up.
I did not actually watch that.
I didn't either.
Yeah.
Me neither. I just saw the tweets.
But that's co-hosted with...
Noam Chomsky's 93 years old or something. Just
Leave him alone.
Leave him alone. Let him be a professor at University of Arizona. Just let him.
Oh, he's in Arizona.
He is in Arizona, yes. Leave the poor soul alone. He's to suffer enough as it is. It's like probably like 190 there today. Like,
oh shit.
He's melting. That's why he looks like the way he does now. That's why he's dying. Is because he's in like 120 degree heat.
But that's why he's still alive. He hasn't been in a cold place, so he can still breathe.
True.
Nice dry air. Yeah.
That's the reason that then my grandparents moved to Arizona was because it was a dry heat.
Maybe he should lift in more. And then his face wouldn't look like that.
But yeah, so that
I'll send him an email. He'll get back to me.
That event is co-hosted with the Lincoln International, so another example of like how we're trying to work with local groups and so on.
I'm not convinced.
Cool. What?
I'm not convinced that. I mean, we've been here for my timer says an hour and 7 minutes. Not convinced that DSA wants to actually link up and do stuff. I think it's just this overhaul of American politics in Germany. I don't know. Like, kind of sus.
Imperialism.
That's
it's
the
an
word.
expat club purely for having fun and getting zonked out on politics. So you should all join.
Yeah, we all do.
Techno clubs are closed right now, so we
doing cat in fucking Tempelhofer.
Is there anything you wanted to say that we didn't get to?
Yeah.
Y'all have like a lot of notes, and I feel kind of bad.
All right, while they look at it, we should plug our event.
Yeah, Rob and I are going to get
Tuesday.
messy, but actually not messy at all.
Yeah. We're also talking about the U.S. election for Die Linke Neukölln on Tuesday at 7 p.m. So if this is coming out Monday at midnight, either tomorrow or today or
Sunday
past,
midnight.
Yeah, what's the same?
Monday morning.
It's the same midnight.
Oh.
Sunday into Monday.
It actually comes out Monday at 12:15 in the morning, so that there
well.
isn't this analytics problem.
There you go.
Because we've had this before.
But ours will be in German, so send it to German friends, family. We'll try to, we won't say the same things that you will see on the cover of Die Zeit that I saw in the library today was "Make America Vote Again" with a big photo of Kamala Harris.
They really just phone it in. I mean,
we won't do that.
Oh God, yeah.
Side energy there. That's great.
I
They
literally,
always have great
Whatever
takes.
language you speak, there's an option for you.
that
Ours
option
will
is
be
only
held in
Kamala
English
Harris.
for all the degenerate American club goers.
Yeah,
Don't know any German.
So when you're in your fucking K-hole, you can still
talk
pay
about
attention.
It's a vibe, yeah.
Yeah, Joe Biden's a vibe. Hunter Biden is 100% a vibe.
He declined, unfortunately.
So is there anything else you want to say?
we're after we're also going to have kind of a nice Zoom meeting after the election, 2 days after.
That's DSA talk for doing Ket.
There's great advertisement here.
Know what slang your kids are using.
So if you want to talk election, shithole country stuff, join us on Thursday, November 5th. After your K-hole is over.
The K-hole being the U.S. election.
And that's kind of, we're trying to keep everyone in the loop and organize them.
I don't think I've
Is it going to be a sad Zoom call?
Yeah.
Sad Zoom call.
Yeah, I mean, just because you mentioned Bernie, like it's worth contextualizing that, DSA's boom in popularity came with the Bernie campaign, and then, which was basically, there was a Jackman article, what's it called, something like the 5-year Civil War. And now the future is uncertain, but DSA is still here. And so stuff like DSA Berlin is, I mean, it's all about, like, it's an open opportunity to, do something.
Take the leap, get offline.
With what we've got, like...
Well, being online on the Zoom call.
Whatever's going to happen, like...
stop posting.
Or at least we are online army against the Germans who hate us.
Hold up. I would never,
posting.
ever say stop posting. Keep posting. Just maybe not suck at it like the Germans or whatever.
And then, after the election, we're going to set up a recurring reading group and a recurring film group. So just some nice things to do through the winter. But follow us on the things I mentioned earlier.
When do we start
at Berlin DSA, and then you can stay in touch with all those things.
When do we start the ultra-violent Maoist group that goes boxing in the middle of a park in Neukölln?
There's a channel on Mattermost for that.
Yeah, where does DSA take the reins of Jugendwiderstand? That's my real.
They did leave a hole in all of our lives when they
am
left.
starting Red Guards Charlottenburg, if anything.
Rob's gonna go to Die Linke meetings with people. They're all vicious pieces of shit. Him and 3 of his best friends, just beating up 70-year-old, German leftists who are oh, the DDR was cool. I'm just here. You sicko, Rob. Rob going sicko mode on old German leftists.
All right.
Anything else?
Yeah.
We good?
That's it for me.
Yeah.
All right. How are we gonna end this?
I mean, I think how we normally end episodes is just with a cliffhanger. No, I mean, obviously, if you are in Berlin, obviously check out DSA Berlin. You do not have to be American, as we found out tonight. I mean, we obviously knew that, but just to clarify it. If I don't want to hold the open question then for listeners in other countries, but if you're an American in another country who listens to our show, maybe figure out how to do maybe something similar. That'd be pretty cool, right? I don't know.
Yeah, you
the
can
question's
contact
open.
us about that.
Yeah, definitely contact us if you're in a different country that we didn't mention or one that we did. Email us and we can get you into contact with the people in that country that are trying to organize for DSA. Like I said, this is happening all over Europe and elsewhere. So this is, we're not a one-off at all. This is a movement we're trying to build around the world.
Nice. And I guess on that note,
the Amis are not going home.
They are not going home, and
you're stuck with them whether you like it or not.
Yeah, we will be at Brandenburger Tor on Thursday at 15 Uhr to get the Americans out of this country, and we will see you guys all next week. Then I guess.
Yeah. And thank you to Ted and Michelle for coming. Thanks for everything you've done to get DSA Berlin off the ground.
Thanks for putting up with our shit.
Thanks for your service.
Thank you for your service.
Salute.
Yep. To give up your airplane seat for me now.
Yeah. You guys are pretty much the vets. You guys are stationed at we were actually recording now from Ramstein Air Base. Ted's actually a drone pilot. He just want to admit it.
This is Radio Free Europe.
So
perfect.
Yeah, we'll see you guys all next week. Take care.
Bye.
Peace.